I don't want to take up much of their time, but I'll briefly contextualize the talk and how the event actually happened or is happening today. As you all know, the department went for a syllabus revision, a minor revision this year, and as part of the revision, we brought in 2 elective courses on regional literatures. That was on the realization that the department is a department of English and comparative literature, and still we did not have elective courses on regional Indian literatures. So we introduced modern Indian literatures and mainstream Indian literatures, and also modern Indian literatures from the margins. So as we were drafting the syllabus, this happened quite, there was a curious coincidence kind of. As we were drafting the syllabus, Ms. Deepthi texted to me about the publication of the translation of the work. This is the work, Vyavastheda Navapadagal. This covers the life writing as well as songs of Poikayil Sree. So Deepthi has translated the biography part, and Dr. Ajay has translated the songs. So it was then that I thought of inviting them. It was Ms. Deepthi who's there. My plan was to, as you know already, my plan was to make it a very simple kind of an event. So I thought we'll bring over Ms. Deepthi. It was she who suggested that it was a collaborative venture, and she would also be happier if both of them could be here together with us today. So that is how the event is happening. Now about the subject of discussion today, again I'll make it as brief as possible. Many of us are aware of the project of Kerala Modernity. This is also for the information of the first year MA students. This project which we call under various names like Kerala Navothanam, Kerala Modernity, social reform movements in Kerala. Some even call it revivalist movement. So it goes under different names, and that itself kind of suggests that this is not a singular homogeneous kind of a project. There are multiple strands, multiple layers to it, and the dominant narratives of Kerala modernity, which we are familiar with, kind of make modernity synonymous with secularity and secular reason. And not just that, that is one problem with the dominant narratives. And also the mainstream figures, the people who are projected as the pioneers of Kerala modernity, that itself would mean that some other figures are marginalized, made invisible, sidelined kind of. So there are problems with the dominant narratives of Kerala modernity. This is where the significance of revisionist readings, revisionist approaches to modernity come. And we have had such readings from multiple locations, multiple vantage points, like that of women, that of the lower caste, for instance, since around the 1990s. So it is then that figures like Poikayil Sree, also known as Poikayil Appachan, Poikayil Yohanna. I think our guest will talk more about the figure, so I'm not going into that again. The kind of modernity that Kumaradevan brought in, I was talking about secularity and secular reason. So the debates on the spiritual, theological, religious fronts, they were viewed as kind of regressive, as operating as oppositional to modernity, or lying outside the domain of modernity, lying outside the purview of modernity. So it is these kind of questions that the figures who were earlier marginalized and who are now increasingly taken up in academic research. So it was these questions that they engage with. A word that I should also express the gratitude of the department on this occasion to Sree V.V. Swami, who happened to be one of the editors, along with Sree E.V. Anil, one of the editors of the book. He has actually made available both these books to the department entirely free of cost. So I should also like to express the gratitude. Because they were keen on this being a part of academic discussions. So it was purely academic considerations that led them, probably. So a word that is repeatedly used in the introduction in the life writing. Life writing itself, as Deepti would tell you, is more of a punarakhyanam, something like a reinterpretation. And a committee itself was set up, I think, as part of Pratiksha Deva Samiti, which was called Jiva Charitra Punarakhyanam Samiti. The Punarakhyanam, Charitram Namuganarayam, history is not a literal documentation of facts, it is a reinterpretation, a reimagining. So all those methodological, epistemological kind of challenges that such reimagining of the life story of a figure who was once consigned to oblivion and resurrected in later years, all those problems they discussed there. And the word that I wanted to bring to your notice was Atmiya Yukti. Kumaradev's Atmiya Yukti, Yukti secularism, secular reason, it's very rarely that we talk about Atmiya Yukti. And these were also at the same time, even when we say that it had spiritual, theological dimensions, even then it also amounted to very strong critiques of God and religion. So those are also things that we should understand. And Alal Kathiyat Kashtame Alalang Jadi Maramido, Nija Nadidan Kayal Jalam Magi, Ajamekimo Chutle Maran, Umarashan Chandala Pichiri Ledumbo, upon Adi Avasta Nija, Nam Nija and the Soyam Gedikina with Nadi. To a very proud assertion of the history of the race. That's what we see in Kumaradev. Kanandeva Raksharom, Enda Vamshate Patti, Kanandam, Anega Vamshatinde Charitrangal. But that's a very proud assertion of both the history of the race. He doesn't use the word caste, he uses the word race. Of that, and also of the history of the race. So that is actually a leap forward. Though temporarily he came earlier, temporarily Appachan's songs came earlier, ideologically that was a huge leap forward. So on that note I'll stop. I'm very happy that we have these two figures, one a veteran scholar and the other a young academic, both of them dealing with questions of the intersections of cultural memory, of caste, of marginality studies, of again, there was one more thing that about the reworking of history. So those who are engaged in these kinds of debates of academic questions, we think we can look forward to a very fruitful session. So hearty welcome to both of you. I think we'll start off with Dr. Ajay.
Thank you for this opportunity, and I'm really delighted to be part of this very meaningful and culturally significant event of remembering Poikayil Appachan and his songs and his life and struggles, cultural and civilizational struggles led by Poikayil Appachan or Poikayil Yohanan the preacher. As she mentioned earlier, he began as a preacher, Yohanan Vadeshi, and then he also developed a critique of theology and the biblical discourses and Bible hermeneutics itself from the bottom of the society in Kerala. And he reinterpreted the Bible, he critiqued the Bible, and also symbolically, as a symbolic act of critique, he also burned the Bible in Kerala in early part of the 20th century. And also, when we talk about the questions of hegemony, cultural imperialism, cultural exclusion, othering, and also genocidal kind of violences, the discourses of Zionism in particular. We face the calamities today. The strike of Israel is on in Lebanon when we are sitting here and discussing Poikayil Appachan here. So Poikayil Appachan, in a very engaging way, as Dr. Asha has mentioned, he has also provided a comparative critique and a deep hermeneutical and spiritual critique of religion. So it is not just Christianity and a casteist formations of Brahmanical Hinduism and Christianity in Kerala, but also in a deeper sense he was also addressing the issues of the Old Testament. He was critiquing the Jewish origins of the kind of what we call the Semitic religions as well. So Poikayil Appachan is such a phenomenal figure, such a phenomenal voice of the downtrodden and excluded, that without a keen awareness of the words of Poikayil Appachan or the gospel of Poikayil Appachan, we cannot have a comprehensive understanding of the social formations of Kerala, the historical evolution of Kerala, and also what we call the Kerala's unique modernity, in which you find this polyphonic sense of religion, comparative sense of human-centered ideas of progress and reason and religion, comparative religion. In all these discourses of the modernity of Kerala, Poikayil Appachan's voice and his gospel is very significant. That is what I need to assert here. So he actually he has left behind the legacy of letters, the legacy of the alphabet, because he lamented about the lack of writing, the lack of history, the lack of textuality and textualization of the life struggles of others. And he ventured out to create new narratives and new kind of counter-hegemonic discourses from the social bottom of Kerala. He has revitalized the memories of slavery in Kerala. So that's the key concept that he has accented throughout his songs and spirituals. Poikayil Appachan was focusing on something called the slave subject, the Adima Vishayam and the Adima Vishayi, subject as both a discipline, a field of knowledge or study, and also the human subjectivity in formation, the human articulation, the human agency and voice and speech of the subaltern. That is what he has extended and anchored in the soil of Kerala. So his songs from early part of the 20th century, his life we know is from 1879, February 17, that is his birthday. He was born in the old Tiruvalla taluk of Travancore and near a place called Iraviperu, in a house called Poikayil or Poikayil Manikam. His mother's Lechi is his mother, and his father was from Malapadi region. His mother is from that Iraviperu region of old Tiruvalla taluk of Travancore. And from 1879 onwards, the life struggle was on. He was born as a slave child because both the parents, Kandan and Lechi, they were the slaves, agricultural slaves belonging to the Paraya community, belonging to the Sambhava or Paraya community, and they were agricultural slaves to that feudal family. The feudal Christian family was the called Shankaramangalam, and they were the subjects and slaves of that family. Professor Susi Tharu herself comes from that family, Shankaramangalam of that Iraviperu region. So from early part of 20th century, he was into Bible preaching, as the feudal family was into the Marthoma church. The slaves were also converted into that church. And fortunately, he got education. He got reading and writing in the Siemens school that was working nearby. And he began the teaching and preaching of the Bible. He used to tell the students means his followers and fellows, his fellow kids about the wretchedness of slavery, the struggles against the caste slave system in Kerala, the feudal system in Kerala, and also he used the Bible as a weapon. He used the Bible as a repository to elaborate his narratives. And later he gradually moved on to the critique of the Bible also. So first he was a preacher, Poikayil. He was baptized. The original name was Komaran. The ancient Tamil name Komaran. Komaran means related to the Komaran, the Sangam age, Komaran, Komari and Komaran. And later it was Sanskritized slightly as Kumaran, which is a synonym of the Murugan, Kumaran. And then later he got, when he was baptized into Christianity, he was with the Marthoma church. Then he got the name Yohanan, and then he became a preacher, a Bible preacher and missionary type person. And then he was called Yohanan the Udesh, Yohanan Udeshi. And also he was mockingly called. He was hilariously called as Yohanan also, because he was even wearing the robe of a preacher or a Christian missionary. So that's why he was also called, ridiculed as a mock kind of priest or preacher. That's why he was also called Rohan, Lohite Narakanon, Robs, the Bible Narakanon, and the Ridiran, anyway, gradually he also began into the critique and reinterpretations of rereadings of the Bible. And he asked the key questions: is this Bible that is being monopolized by the caste Christians in Kerala, or the Syrian Christians in Kerala, and they are using it for their own purposes of power, their own purposes of cultural supremacism and hegemony? So is this Jewish document, this Old Testament, is it valid at all in India or in the Kerala context? Or is it the law and the spirituality or the spiritual document of an ancient civilization investigation? So that was the question. Is it for the Keralites? Are we mentioned, Manya Guru Snehita, oh dear friend, oh my friend and brethren? Is this Bible for your generation in Kerala, or is it written to some other people? To the Jews or the Gentiles and Christians in the West Asian region some 2000 years ago. So that was the question that was asked. So he began to critique the Bible gradually, and he felt the casteist oppression within the church. Within all the churches, he was first with the Marthoma church, he abandoned that church because of casteist kind of discrimination, institutionalized discrimination and untouchability, and kind of what we call otherizing discourse that was done. So he abandoned the Marthoma church, he embraced the other missions, like the Brotherhood mission, then the Vervada Sabha, and so many, even the neo-evangelism, W.S. Hunt and Noel Saib and all. So he was with even the white missionaries, but even white missionaries have written many reports, many confidential reports to the British government during that time, in early 20th century. So from 1905 onwards, through his songs and spirituals, and these were not written down, these are not actually compositions, written compositions, but these were improvised and sung by Poikayil Appachan during the many meetings. And meetings, the meeting itself is a kind of strategic kind of performance. Instant, spontaneous salvation. If the Bible is talking about a promised land, the paradise, he is offering deliverance and blessings and salvation all of a sudden. So therefore, when he was questioned by the colonial court in 1910, he was arrested because he was not just a critique of the caste system, the caste Hinduism, caste Brahmanical patriarchy and the Syrian Christian patriarchy, but he was also challenging and questioning and critiquing British imperialism also. So that's why in 1910, when the First World War was on, when the World War and its ethnic and political tensions were on, Appachan has organized and led a peace rally from that Kalady where he had done that 42 days long spiritual meeting. It is called the Tattvam and Thoda meetings. Kalady meeting. These are all places near Iraviperu in the old Tiruvalla taluk of Travancore. And he organized that peace rally for world peace, an untouchable in Kerala, an untouchable leader, a pariah leader, a leader of the Dalit people in Kerala in Travancore. He organized a peace rally, a world peace rally, ensuring the participation of thousands of Dalit brothers and sisters in white dress. PRDS is known for their white kind of dress. The dress code is the, if you go to Iraviperu, the headquarters and the memorial of the Poikayil Appachan, you will see that. In February, you have that long, month-long celebrations of his birthday. Every year, they celebrate it as the Poikayil Appachan what you call birthday kind of gatherings. So, wearing all those white dress and holding the white flags of peace, symbolizing peace, they have marched from the Kalady to a place called Maragdo. So, that is supposed to be the first peace rally organized in Travancore against the First World War. So, then of course the missionaries and the British government, the secret agents, the military, the police, they were all alerted, and many missionaries have written reports, confidential reports to the British police and British government against this missionary, against this new kind of preaching. So then he was suspected and he was seen as a traitor to the British imperial regime, the British Raj in India. And therefore he was summoned to the court. And he came to the court in Changanasheri, the British court. And then when he was questioned about the authority of organizing people and leading such peace rallies and protest meetings and critique of Bible, that was also he was also burning the Bible in a place called Vagathanam. He burned the Bible. So there were many complaints from the caste Christians and also from the caste Hindus against Appachan. And also he was openly critiquing the British imperial regime and its foreign policy, the problem of the war. He was anticipating the war, and also he had that song with Rajakumar Kiridam Tazhvechu Kalayillude Odunna Kalam Ennuvanu. The kings will be dethroned and they will have their escape, or they will become fugitives. So that was his prediction. And the ship, the British ship and the British steamer, it will go back, it will retreat. The cargo and the ship will go back. Kapalum Charakum, Britate Kapalum Charakum, one തിരിച്ചു പോകും എന്നാണ് അദ്ദേഹം പറഞ്ഞത്. അപ്പോൾ അവിടെ ആ സമയത്ത് in 1911 he was actually giving a welcome to the King of Travancore. അപ്പോൾ King of Travancore പറഞ്ഞത് ഇമ്പമേറും തിരുവിതാംകൂറിനെ ശാന്തമായൊന്ന് ഇരിക്കണമേ എന്നാണ്. അപ്പോൾ he was actually suggesting the king that this Travancore is a harmonious land. We have plenty of religions and communities here, and many people are here, so it's a harmonious, polyphonic land. You must rule it in peace. So he was accenting peace and harmony and multiculturalism and polyphony. Even to the king, he was able to talk these truths, or he was able to speak the truth against on the face of power, against aggression and kind of hegemony. So that was the power of his rhetoric and the power of his counter-hegemonic discourse. And therefore, he was seen as a threat by both Travancore regime and also the British residents in Travancore. So therefore, he was summoned to the court, and in the court, he declared that I am the leader of the social organization called PRDS, Pratyaksha Raksha Daivasabha, and I am the leader and the Lord. I am the God of this organization, Pratyaksha Raksha Daivasabha. And I will give instant, spontaneous deliverance and salvation to all the followers of this PRDS. So that was the claim of Poikayil, because even human status was denied to the people. The agricultural slaves, they were not even treated as human beings. They were bought and sold. കാളയെ വിൽക്കുന്നത് പോലെ നമ്മുടെ അപ്പനപ്പൂപ്പന്മാരെ വിറ്റ് വിലവാങ്ങി പോന്നു, അന്തണർ അവരെ വിറ്റ് വിലവാങ്ങി പോന്നു എന്നാണ് പറയുന്നത്. Brahminical patriarchy is directly mentioned, and also the casteist feudal patriarchy in the Syrian Christian formation is also equally critiqued by him. He has sung repeatedly that we were bought and sold as cattle, and we were denied even basic human rights and educational rights and all other educational, symbolic, cultural capitals, and we were systematically dehumanized. The majority of people we traveled to in Cochin, fortunately in Malabar, it was the British from late 18th century onwards, and mid 18th century Hyder Ali and Tipu Sultan were here, and they have made revolutionary kind of social reform here by abolishing the caste system and untouchability and many other practices. So fortunately in Malabar from 18th century onwards there were not that kind of brutal casteist kind of humiliations and oppressions and othering here. But in Travancore and Cochin, it was severe caste atrocities and violence and exclusions and subordinations and exploitations were violent. Even they were used to plow the fields. Many missionaries have recorded it. In Malapalli, Samuel Material himself has recorded it. Valayan Material. Samuel Material is a British white missionary. He is called Valayan Material because he was very much with the Dalits. He was into proselytizing the Dalits, and he was into evangelism. Therefore, he is called Valayan Material. Valayan Kunyambu, like Kalasheri advocate Kunyambu is called Valayan Kunyambu because he was the first novelist in which a Pulaya, an untouchable Dalit, is made the hero. Marathan Pulaya, who becomes Justice Yeshudasan, Advocate Yeshudasan, and eventually becomes Justice Yeshudasan. So, Valayan Kunyambu, Valayan Material, and Valayan Ayyappan in Kochi. Sahodara Ayyappan is called the disciple of Narayana Guru. Sahodara Ayyappan is also called Valayan Ayyappan. He considered it as a great honor. He got the Rao Bahadur title from the British, but this Valayan title is supposed to be the greatest social honor that a human being can receive, according to Sahodara Ayyappan. Anyway, Material himself has recorded all those things, the atrocities and all those things. So therefore, Appachan has also made a Mrigasahavirya. In the slave era, we were yoked along with the ox and the buffaloes and all. So therefore, we shouldn't eat the meat of the ox and all. So that was because they are our brothers and sisters. That was the claim of Poikayil. I'm mentioning about it's not a claim for vegetarianism, but he was actually talking about the memories of slavery and brutal kind of tortures, the mutilations of mind and body that happened during the slave era in Kerala. So these songs actually they enliven the memory and the struggle against the caste slavery, the caste oppression, Brahminical patriarchy and its severe forms of Shudra and other Syrian forms of masculinity and aggressions and violence in Kerala. And unfortunately, though he has composed or rendered it, not written down, his disciples later, after his life, his disciples, they have written down it. And also Poikayil Amachi, his partner, life partner, Vishuddha Jnanamma. Jnanamma has also continued, critically extended his songs, and Poikayil Ammachi is also known for his the recovery of the songs and the textualization of his songs and writing more songs in her own ways. Poikayil Ammachi has also continued that stuff. So we must also think and speak and write about Poikayil Ammachi. When we talk about Poikayil Appachan, Ammachi or V. Jnanamma is also a great figure. A great figure because after the demise of Appachan in 1939, he passed away. And she was in her youth, but she had to take the charge of the PRDS movement. Such a vast movement, plenty of court cases were there, plenty of socio-cultural and political and even physical tensions were there. So in that critical moment, Poikayil Ammachi, V. Jnanamma, she has taken over as the chief, the supremo of the PRDS movement, and she has she has advanced further the politics of what we call democratic spirituality, inclusive, representative kind of cultural upliftment of the people, the downtrodden, of the most otherized and wretched people, and it was a casteless movement as well. It was an anti-caste, casteless movement because they incorporated, Appachan tried to incorporate, at least during his lifetime, incorporated all the other Dalits as well. Though he was from the Paraya or the Sakava community, his followers came from the Pulaya community and the Korava community and the Ulada and even scheduled tribes and even OBC people, Nadars and other Kamaras and Iravas and many other OBCs, even Syrian Christians. Even Syrian Christians were co-opted. Many Syrian Christian families are still there who are operating with this movement in Travancore. And he also established many branches of PRDS throughout Travancore, from Parashala region, from Neyatigara regions in south, Nanjinad up to the Vadakankur regions, Vaikam and Ernakulam, they have branches, PRDS branches, Shaka, they call it Shaka. It was such a powerful movement that the songs are the surviving document, the literary and cultural documentation of this culture, and the messages of anti-caste kind of social imaginary and a new social vision of inclusion and representation. It is included in the songs, and that's why the songs are very important. In the case of Mahatma Kalady, we don't have much text. Mahatma Kalady's Prajasabha speeches are there, but unfortunately a few letters are there. Because he was an illiterate person, we couldn't leave behind many letters of the alphabet, only those recorded speeches in the Srimula Prajasabha. Poikayil Appachan went to the Prajasabha twice, 1921 and in 1931 he went to the Prajasabha, Srimulam Assembly of Travancore, and he represented the people and he represented and spoke for all the untouchables, not just for his own community, and PRDS was including the Pulayas and the Kuravas as well. Many other communities were also included. So he was against caste and subcaste, the operations of the Chaturvarnya, the substratification, the divide and rule of cultural imperialism, internal imperialism, which is called Hindu imperialism, by John Dhammadev, a disciple of Narayana. He has written that book, the history and menace of Hindu imperialism, Haindava, Sankaracharya Dushpurva. So he was against that and he was against caste divisions as well. So that's why it's a casteless or an anti-caste imagination. It is specifically anti-varnashrama dharma, anti-chaturvarnya kind of philosophy and praxis, social praxis that he has developed. But unfortunately later, as what happened to the movement of Narayana Guru was also from the beginning, 1988, Anivipura installation to 1927 last public message at Kalady. Guru was talking about including all people irrespective of caste or religion into his Sangha or into his yoga. But unfortunately later it became a casteist kind of formation. Likewise, that kind of a narrowing, a kind of parochialism has also befallen upon the movement, but still PRPS talks about the memories of history and the memories of slavery is key in the theology and in the philosophy and social vision and praxis of Appachan and PRPS. So the memory of caste slavery is something that is very important. And according to Appachan, ഓർക്കുമ്പോൾ ഖേദമുള്ളിൽ ആരംഭിക്കുന്നേ, he is singing about that in that song. He talks about the regret fills within when we think about the past, when we think about the history and what we call the ordeals of slavery. Regret or great sorrow fills within. And let me add something in my own melody. So he was creating his own idiom. He was creating his own rhythm and composition and laying of song, and music is being created, the music of memory. The music of memory that is a survival of say, stratified casteist history in Kerala. So, regret fills within. Let me add something in my own melody. That is the line from Poikayil Appachan. And how is it possible that all blame us till the end of earth and sky? How can God who shaped everything allow this to happen on earth today? So that is the question. In the name of God, he asks, how can God ever allow this, permit this kind of slavery on earth, this casteist slavery, and how can you tolerate it? It is against humanity and against any sense of God and religion as such. So that is the question that is being repeated. And plenty of such issues he has highlighted. He has provided a critique of history here. He has critiqued alien invasion here. In a song called Ailippu Naatil Ninne, Ailippu Pottanmare ennu parayunna oru paatil, he critiqued alien invasion. On the same time, on the same plane, there are other innuendos about the Buddhist kind of missionary work in South India. So that is also being implied. So his poetry is prolific, though he has used it as strategy, guerrilla songs and spiritual. His words are having, his songs are having many multi-dimensional, polyphonic kind of dimensions and greater ironic kind of layers of meaning as well. So he has provided a kind of serious critique of caste Hindu religion, and also unfortunately in the case of Kerala how Christianity has also become casteist, the dominant form of Christianity, the casteist or the Syrian Christian kind of formation, how it has been corrupted by the casteist element in Kerala, and therefore he talks about Hindu Madathin Puravaliye, Christu Madathin Puravaliye, Anatharathavol Sanjirippu. We are the orphans outside the periphery of caste Hinduism and also casteist forms of Christianity. And therefore we need to gather together, we need to unite together to fight this. So there is a kind of a new solidarity, a new brotherhood or sisterhood is required. So a new Maitri he was preaching, and this idea of Pratyaksha Raksha or instant salvation includes that kind of greater fraternity, greater solidarity across caste and religion and gender also. That's why he included all women into his set. Jnanama was given all the freedom, and Jnanama followed him as the supreme head of the sensitivity and gender inequality. A considerable amount of gender justice and equality you will find in the songs and spirituals, and about slave songs. He has written about his own mother, how the mother, she nurtured him while working in the field. The kids were kept on the ridge of the field, paddy field, and sometimes the ants will come and bite and eat. Even there are such instances, children are being eaten away by the ants, or they are being attacked by dogs, stray dogs or other predators. So that kind of instances are there that have been narrated. Because of lack of time, I am not elaborating all those songs. Anyway, you will get it from that PRPS studies. You have that book, Unknown Subjects, which is a translation of some 33 songs of Poikayil Appachan. If you go to Devi, you will get it. Or you can write to V.V. Swami and you will get that book as well. So, as students of literature and culture, let me urge you that you must also read the poetry. Unfortunately, almost 100 years after it was published by Anti-Caste, it was kept away from printing for almost a century in Kerala. It was rendered during the 1905 to 1930s. That was the period of the songs. The original rendering of the songs as part of the cultural struggles into cultural politics. He was into the whole way of culture as a whole way of struggle, and culture as a whole way of life, as cultural studies people would say. So he was indulging into culture and songs and poetry, and he was recapturing the memories of slavery and using it against the casteist kind of hegemony in India, against the Indian ideology, against the Indian hegemony, that is caste and Brahmanism. And also he critiqued the other dominant forms of religion, whether it is Sree Christianity or whether it is Jewish Zionism or supremacism. He was critiquing it all from early 20th century, such an advanced critique which is still relevant today, as I mentioned earlier. And therefore, students of literature and culture, we must also read it. The original, which is published by the Sahitya Academy as PRBS particle. Earlier, it was first published by Sahodaran Prasadhanam of Vagathan, that rationalist Rajagopal, Advocate Rajagopal Vagathanam and his Sahodaran Prasadhanam. They had published it for the first time, breaking the a century-long silence. Only in 2006 it was published, Poikayil Appachan article. And then in 2007 I got the opportunity to translate it into English language. And the first edition was published, this Unknown Subject, the first edition came in 2008. And only in 2011, Sahitya Academy, they published the original Malayalam songs under the title PRBS particle in 2011. Anyway, my long introduction is there in that Sahitya Academy edition also. So I consider it a great privilege and a very important, meaningful act to talk about Poikayil Appachan and to introduce his songs here. And I hope Ms. Deepthi will elaborate about Poikayil Appachan and his life and struggles. So therefore, I urge you all to read and study his poetry. And I request the department to include the poetry part also, the songs also into your curriculum. And I thank for this opportunity and all the very best for the students and researchers here. Thank you very much.